good afternoon to you, our cherished and discerning listeners. It's another beautiful and blessed Wednesday, and we here at Multimedia are happy to bring you another exciting edition of your favorite business development program on radio, Masterclass. Masterclass is powered by Joy Business and brought to us by Goyle. Goyle, good energy, Goyle, Yenara, Yedia. Masterclass is also brought to us by Lancaster University. They boast of having the only British university campus in all of West Africa. If you're considering some tertiary education, by all means, do consider Lancaster University. My name, as always, is Yaw Barnafo, and I will be your host for the show today. I want to say a big thank you before I continue to say anything else to my boss, Odelia Ntiamwa. She sat in for me last week when I was not available, and I watched the show, and by all standards, it was a brilliant encounter. I hope that you also picked up some tidbits and you've become better for it. Martin was here with us again last week, and he's here again with us today. Martin, you're welcome to the conversation today.
Thank you very much, Yao.
I'm excited because, the conversation on leadership does not end. Today I'm going to allow you to go early. I'm going to say very little because I find that whenever I see your slides before the show, there's so much content, and we're not able to get nearly as much out for our listeners. And I know that they're happy to learn the points, they're happy to write them down, and happy to practice them based on the feedback that I get. But today, your conversation is sort of zeroing in on an area which is interesting, an area which is familiar to Masterclass, and which is important in all of our endeavors, which is emotional intelligence. Absolutely. And I think that for those who like to write, it's leading with emotional intelligence. A very good afternoon to you, Uncle James Addison. Big proponent of emotional intelligence. He's also a friend of the show. He's been here. We did emotional intelligence for weeks on end. So when I saw your topic yesterday, I said, Uncle James is going to love this show today. Great. But it's also key because that's what's missing. One of the things that are missing, is missing, I beg your pardon, in our leadership process today. Where to say what and where not to say what. Somebody says, your actions are speaking so loudly, I can't hear what you are saying. So all of that, we're going to try and have a conversation about it and taper a bit more towards leadership. But like I always do, I just sort of wanted to find out what this whole conversation on emotional intelligence is, what the emotional intelligence quotient, as Uncle James likes to talk about it, is. Exactly. Sometimes when you are recruiting for a job, after you've checked all the competencies, you're recruiting for, let's say, a financial accountant. So yes, they've chartered, they are able to check their numbers, they understand basic accounting, they understand financial principles, but that role is a managerial role. Are they going to be working alone? No. They're going to be working with people who are going to be under them. Do you require financial competence to manage people? No, you don't. So what is additional competency required? This is where the conversation of EQ fairly sits. Yes. And Savoy and Mayer 1990 have done some work, and they hypothesized it to be a framework describing a set of skills relevant to the accurate appraisal and expression of emotion in one's self or in others. It goes on and on. But one of the things they said strongly was that they implied in their study in 1990, that's Savoy and Mayer, that the two distinct mental processes of thinking and feeling actually work together.
Exactly.
So at this point, I will pause and I will hand over to you. You're welcome to the conversation. For those of us who are now joining us, this is Masterclass. Martin Atafin, CEO of AfriConsult, has been with us, sharing wonderful thoughts with us on leadership. But today, we're focusing on leading with emotional intelligence. How emotionally intelligent are you? My mother always used to say, there are things that they teach you in the classroom, but there are things that a teacher will never teach you in the classroom.
Absolutely. You have to pick up on
teach us some of those things today that they won't teach you in the classroom, but which is important to get your job done. Talk to us.
Thank you very much, Yao, and thanks for the opportunity to welcome you to your own seat.
Thank you.
Yes, we had an amazing time last week with Odelia. And before I get into emotional intelligence, I want to do a quick recap of what we discussed last week. And I'll be real quick so that we can get into emotional intelligence. If you recall, one of the things you have been saying is that followers and leaders co-create each other. So how followers work and their behavior can influence even your leadership and your style of leadership. And then we went into a situation where we are saying that, look, with leadership, you are leading people who are either willing or unwilling to do the work, but they also either have the ability or do not have the ability to do the work. And that is what you have to identify and be able to manage. So the abilities is the technical area. That is like you're talking about management, accountant, or finance, the task orientation. And then the willingness or unwillingness is the bit about the people orientation, where you have to pull out your people orientation skills to be able to manage the people. And if you have
the attitudes and all of that,
the values, the attitudes. And so basically, even if you have to develop a leader, you need to be able to measure that. And that is what took us into the assessments. So we're saying that you have to measure the performance, that's the task orientation, or the values or the attitudes, that is the people orientation. And we went further to talk about the fact that, look, if you measure it, somebody who has low values and low performance, maybe you need to say goodbye, because he doesn't have the values anyway. But if he has low values but however has high performance, he's a tyrant, but you can be able to work on him. If the person has high values, high performance, that is the role model that you're looking for. And that is what you need to focus and build or coach somebody who probably has high values but low performance. So we went into the assessment and said that the leadership assessment helps you to be able to assess your leader's strengths and weaknesses. So it can either be feedback from from a tool that has been used, or it can also be self-assessment. So the self-assessment,
and it can be done anonymously. For those who have heebie-jeebies, heebie-jeebies is my own term, those who are sensitive about people, giving feedback about them, which may not necessarily be favorable to them, or people who are afraid to give feedback fear of victimization.
Exactly. And in fact, even to be able to stem that, then why don't you, the leader, do a feed forward? So instead of waiting to the end of a period to say, how did I do? Why don't you then, at the beginning of the period, go to them and say, how do you expect me to do? It's like a teach me how to love you situation. So they'll tell you what to do so that you can work at it. And then when you are going back to find out how you did, you find out that, you actually worked according to what they were their expectations, which might even be better. So feed forward is a tool that is being used heavily these days by a lot of leaders. So we discussed the 360-degree assessment, and we discussed Myers-Briggs type indicator in the assessment tools. And the 360-degree assessment, we looked at the way you have to assess yourself, your peers will assess you, your supervisors will assess you, and then maybe your subordinates or your team will assess you. Some even extend it to their customers to be able to assess you. And that will actually be able to give you stuff that is in probably a blind side that you have no idea of.
I think I missed the bit last week about the Myers-Briggs, but I'm assuming that focused a bit more on personality.
Absolutely.
And personality tests.
Yes.
I've had the privilege.
Yes. Of going through that.
Of going through it, and it sort of summarizes the conversation on personality.
Yes.
And I'm just going to use some keywords because people are familiar with those words. People say, I'm a choleric, I'm a sanguine, I'm a filler, I'm a whatever, phlegmatic.
Exactly.
Some people say I'm a green color, some say I'm a blue color. Whatever it is you are never one thing all the time. It sort of changes.
It sort of changes because I was going to say, if you have done it, I'll suggest you do it again and see whether you get the same dichotomies.
Indeed.
Yes.
But another thing I just wanted to chip in before you move on to today was that because the 360-degree approach of assessment is key for an all-round development, it will serve as a constant reminder, or should serve as a constant reminder when you are dealing with people.
Yes.
If you are uncontrollably obnoxious, know that at the end of time, when we ask people to give an assessment of you, they will point out that you are obnoxious.
Absolutely.
And that should be a reminder to do the right thing.
And an interesting thing, and we perform this exercise for a particular client, and we do that every year. There are times that the feedback comes, and then the individual says, the leader says, this is not me. This is not me. But everybody else is saying, this is you. So that's the point you're talking about. That it actually reveals what
your true character.
The true character or the true situation about certain competencies that you probably are totally oblivious of.
Interesting. Let's go into today's conversation. If you just joined in, this is Masterclass here on the Superstation Joy 99.7. Today we're talking about leading with emotional intelligence. Leading with emotional intelligence. By all means, do join the conversation. We will get interactive at some point. We'll open the phone lines and then you can also be a part of it. But otherwise, we're also streaming live on Facebook. If you're at home, you're in the office, you have a bit of time on your hands, by all means, do go to our Facebook page and be a part of it. You can watch it live. But otherwise, you can also listen if you're driving.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So with leading with emotional intelligence, I'll start with a statement. To start, I'm saying that there are leaders and there are those who lead. Leaders hold a position of power, of influence, but those who lead are the ones who inspire us. So you find out that organizations and individuals follow those who lead, not because they have to, but because they want to, because they have been inspired to follow them. So the question is, what makes us follow those who lead?
Exactly.
And that is bringing up the issue of emotional intelligence, because those people have mastered the art of inspiring you through emotional intelligence. So what is emotional intelligence? It refers to the capacity for you recognizing your own feelings and those of others. And for motivate, what do you recognize them for? To be able to motivate and manage those emotions in order to achieve what you want to achieve. So you manage the emotions in yourselves and in other relationships. So they are always yourself and other relationships. And this is a statement by Daniel Goleman himself. Daniel Goleman is the champion who picked up after Murray and Sure, I beg your pardon. He picked up after them, and he actually, what do you call it, came up with the whole concept of emotional intelligence with leadership. Now, the story is that the technical skills that helped you to secure your first promotion might not exactly be what would help you to move on in your leadership role. Why? Because your technical skill is what is looked at to say you can do the job.
Right.
But when you come in,
that's a prerequisite.
It's a prerequisite, But when you come in, now your emotional intelligence has to come into play, And really, what we say is that emotional intelligence is about 70% required and 30% of your technical. And the story is that the technical is already assumed. If you don't know it,
I'm smiling. I can't control myself. There's a question which keeps popping up in my mind. You haven't said it, but I'm going to ask it so that in your presentation,
I can speak to it.
For a leader, owner of a company, a business who says, as for me, I'm straight to the point. I say it as it is. If you have done something wrong, I will say it. I don't care who is there or who is there. We're talking about emotional intelligence. Please listen. Because sometimes you can say the same thing in a different way or in a different place or at a different time and get the same result without destroying relationships.
Absolutely. It's a major issue.
And I couldn't help it. I just wanted to chip that in.
It's a major issue that happens, because the question is, so what is all about emotional intelligence? You should have understood yourself and your own emotions, understood the emotions of others. Because I can tell you, that I'm very straightforward and I'm strict, and if you don't do what you're doing, I'll fire you. I'll tell the next person, and that person will pack his bags and leave.
Walk away.
Because maybe I understand you and I understand that you can process this and you know what I'm saying. But how does the next person process?
Exactly.
So you need to understand where they all sit emotionally and how they react when any situation like that comes.
Right.
So that is what is required of the leader. It will help you to successfully coach teams, to manage stress, both yourself and others, deliver feedback, and actually collaborate with others.
Right.
So, let's say the ability part, the task orientation part, okay, we can split it into two: inborn ability and acquired ability. Inborn ability will be your talents, your potentials, your gifts that you already have. And acquired ability is the knowledge that you went to school to learn, the skills that you added to it, and then you practiced and then got experience. So if you're on a job, inborn ability and acquired ability is what you require to be able to do your job. That in total we will refer to as your IQ. or intelligence quotient, or the abilities that you have, the skills, the technical. But however, emotional intelligence has to come to play. If it doesn't, then inborn ability plus acquired ability, you multiply by emotional quotient, is what will give you your results. And if emotional quotient is 0, then it means that
You're in trouble.
You're in trouble. You're in the same space. So what we are saying is emotional intelligence multiplies your abilities to be able to deliver. And that's how important it is. And that's what will make you successful.
What would be a synonym for the phrase emotional intelligence? Tact. If one had tact in their dealings, would they be deemed to be emotionally intelligent?
Possibly, but you see, it can't be just that. It also means that person probably has empathy.
Right.
Because he understands, you can be tactful but not really understand the person's situation. So it doesn't matter how tactful you're being, the person is still feeling so bad that you know, because you don't understand the situation. So empathy is a strong one, but you have to add tact because of the way you respond.
Right.
You know,
Right.
that's how I look at it. So, more than a decade ago, same Goldman, as I indicated, is the one who highlighted the importance of emotional intelligence in leadership. There's a statement that he made, and that is what we are talking about. He said that, I'll quote, "The most effective leaders are all alike in one crucial way. They all have a high degree of what has come to be known as emotional intelligence." So the most effective leaders are all emotionally intelligent. He continued to say, it is not IQ and technical skills. It's not that IQ and technical skills are irrelevant. They do matter, but they are only the entry-level requirements for executive positions. So if you have that and you get into the executive positions, you now need to look out to make sure that you can now expand your EQ.
Yeah.
Because now it is a must-have. How do you identify and measure your emotional intelligence? I can name one tool. It's called the MEIS, Multi-Factor Emotional Intelligence Scale, which helps you to identify your emotions and emotions of others. It will help you to identify the ability, your ability to use or generate emotions. It will help you to show you the ability to understand emotions, and then the ability to manage those emotions. So that too is what might be able to help anyone to be able to do that. Now, where does all this come from? The psychologists tell us that in the human brain, it has different portions for different things. There's an area called the thalamus, which is the rational decision maker. And there's another area called the amygdala. The amygdala is where the emotional store is, and that's what provides the response. We can match it with what the central processing unit of a computer is. The ALU is the arithmetic and logical unit that does all the arithmetic and logical calculations. You type a letter A, that is what will be able to determine that these signals have come, should be an A. But how do you get the response either on your screen or on your printer? It is the control unit that does that. So the control unit can be the amygdala. So the control unit has to now decide whether, or the amygdala will now decide whether with this kind of information that I've gotten, the best thing is for me to shout, or for me to cry, or for me, And that is the
So
kind
it gives
of
form to the interpretation received, if
absolutely,
you like.
absolutely. So with emotional intelligence, there are 5 key components that we'll be able to look at, which will help you to be able to manage your EQ, as a leader. One is self-awareness. The second is self-management. The third is self-motivation. That is the self part. And then social awareness and social skills is the others part. Because when we define emotional intelligence, we said it helps you it's the identification of emotions of yourself and others, so that you'll be able to manage yourself and others.
Yes.
Great. So the first one is self-awareness. It's for you to be able to understand your own strengths and weaknesses, and to recognize the emotions and the effect that it has on other people. So, there are a lot of people who indicate that they know themselves, but they may not be that much aware. So that for you to be able to bring the best in others, you should be able to understand yourself and help that one to come to play. So if you are self-aware, you know how you feel, you know how your emotions and your actions can affect people and the people around you. Okay, so like I was saying, there's a psychologist called Tasha Eric who said that 95% of people think they are self-aware, but only 10 to 15% are actually self-aware, which can be a challenge because if you're working with colleagues who are not self-aware, that can cut success into two.
But that's such an interesting statistic.
Yes, only 15%
are actually self-aware.
Exactly. So people need to work at it to really understand and become self-aware. And one way to do that is the 360-degree feedback that we spoke about earlier on. So the exposure to that is what will make you understand that I thought I was like this, but now this is what people are saying, so I have to take it in its stride.
Do you reckon that Tasha's assertion is the case because people are less willing to accept whether an assessment of who they truly are? And I say that because I'm going back to the definition of self-awareness. And it says here that self-awareness is your ability to understand your strengths and weaknesses and to recognize your emotions and the effect they have on you and on your team's performance. Taking this definition, it's often the case that people don't accept what people say about them to be either their weaknesses because they feel at some point there may be some personal vendetta or personal input in there, which does not truly represent them.
Exactly.
Would that be the reason why Tasha is showing such a big disparity between the 95 and the 10 to 15? Because that's such a huge gap.
I should think so. I've been in situations where, apart from those who are saying this is not me, there are others who are saying, I know where this is coming from. I know why this person, these people are saying that.
I know where this is. I've heard it before. I know where this is coming from.
Exactly. They're looking for every other reason to say, this is not me. So even if they are being made aware of themselves, they are still refusing to appreciate it. So I am sure that is what, and it applies to all of us. I mean, if somebody is saying something that you thought, really, I was doing much better than that, it's difficult to take it. But if you are able to accept it and work on it.
Sometimes assessments are not fair. I mean, to swing to the other side of it. So should a humble person or should a leader just say, listen, even if I'm not like this and they say I'm like that, they can only say it once if I make an effort to change. So even if it's not true, accept it.
Well, okay, let me tell you, and I'm picking from experience with implementing something like 360 degrees. There are others who said, well, I don't think I'm like that, but so far as people are saying it, there might be some truth in it. So I will still work on that. So that's a way to, I'll take it in its stride.
To have a positive attitude to it.
To have a positive attitude to it and take it, because it really may be true, because sometimes, you see, you're being assessed by your peers, you're being assessed by your supervisors, you're being assessed by your team. And sometimes you find that it cuts across. So all of them can't be wrong. But sometimes it's just one dissenting voice. And that may be wrong or right. But you take it in the stride and watch yourself to see if that is really true. So, I mean, apart from 360-degree assessment, you can also keep a journal and write down your actions of the day and what happened. And sometimes when you review it, you find out whether truly there are things that impacted on your self-awareness. And if you realize that, look, I'm the type who gets angry and shouts, then you speak to yourself to slow down. Find a way.
Some people do this by writing in journal. Some do this by recording short videos at the end of their day, an assessment of themselves.
Videos.
So people will say, dear diary, today I did this and I did that. But I suppose the greatest fear is that people don't want others finding out about who they
their
truly
weaknesses
are or their weaknesses.
Yes.
So you say, dear diary, I panic when I see a lot of people Today I was asked to give a speech at work, and even though no one saw it, I think I peed my pants. Nobody wants that in a video. That's going to. I may become president one day, and somebody's going to put that video from somewhere. So I suppose that it comes from a deep-seated unwillingness to accept our weaknesses as individuals.
Exactly. So we are saying that if you have high emotional intelligence, you would accept this, and then find a way, which takes us to the next item, to self-manage or self-regulate yourself, and that is where the discipline comes in. So you discipline yourself, and then you would find a way to make sure that you can manage the situation and provide a response instead of a reaction.
Well, I mean, if you're listening to us, you're a business owner. This is Masterclass, and we're discussing leading with emotional intelligence. It's a rather difficult thing to accept an assessment of oneself. But if we're going to be successful at this emotional intelligence conversation, then what we're recommending here on the show is that take a deep breath, accept the feedback, take it in your stride, and work on it. There may be those dissenting voices which always come to you with reasons other than that which is true, but be positive about it. Absolutely. And say, because it's coming to me as feedback, I'll work on it and I'll become better. Because at the end of the day, you are the business owner, you are the leader, you are the manager, you are the team lead. If you change and you become better and you endear your team to yourself, then you will begin to have your work real easy and get the outputs that you're looking for.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Great. So when you come to self-management, that has to be done appropriately and intentionally. You regulate yourself so that you really give verbal feedback, rushed emotional decisions, or stereotyping people, that kind of thing. So it's just the discipline of making sure that you are managing an emotional situation that may come up. So how do you do this? First, you should know your values. What values do you have? And that goes to your leadership brand. What are the values that you stand for? And what is most important for you? And then when you live by your values, that is easy to now say, look, I won't do this because I'm leading the people, and I insist that they should see me as this kind of person. And then you should also be able to hold yourself accountable. If you are the kind of person who is always blaming people for what has gone wrong, then maybe you should stop that. And then if you are the leader, you are responsible for situations that go wrong. So admit what is admittable, that you need to work on this. Let's work on this thing together, and then let's get things resolved. I think you earn a lot more respect in that way. And of course, when you earn trust and respect from your team by self-management and self-regulating yourself, it goes a long way to be able to inspire them. Okay. And then also practice being calm. When you get in a challenging situation, how do you act or how do you react? And again, how do you relieve your stress? That kind of thing. So it comes back to writing down some of the negative things that you want to say. Sometimes you can just write them down and then rip it up. It helps you to distress, to exhale.
It's important that you actually find something that helps you to deal with stress and anger. Because I think that, I was reading up on this conversation before coming here, and one of the things I read up is, is that when you are really upset as a leader, as a manager, as a team lead, whatever it is you do, you have a team with you. When you're really upset, that's not the best time to take any decision.
That's true. Otherwise, you'll be reacting.
Exactly. Sometimes just step back for 1 minute, 2 minutes, take a deep breath, and reassess the same situation after those 2 minutes. You might find on most occasions that your reaction has changed. An example is that I went through a training at work, and they said to me, Yaw, when you're upset about an email you've just read, and you type away, you just type a sharp response. He says, when you finish typing that response, call someone who you trust to read through the email. Come back after 2 minutes, and you see that you start editing the email. Because you see, words once spoken cannot be taken back. This is absolutely important as a leader to be measured, and that's the point that you made.
Exactly. And can you imagine if you're speaking those words to someone you're leading consistently? I mean, what are you doing? That person, you're hurting that person emotionally. You are building something that the person would take away and think that this person is not the kind of person I want to be inspired by.
I'm sure there's a lot more information, but I want our listeners to also be a part of this conversation. This is Masterclass. We'll be getting interactive shortly, but before we do that, I want to take a quick message from our sponsors. When we come back, we open the phone lines, and then we can read your messages, and then you can also give us a call and share your thoughts. What is your specific experience in your field of endeavor regarding your leadership or your management of your team using emotional intelligence, and vice versa? We go for a quick break. We'll be right back.
Your favorite on-air business development program, Joy Business Masterclass, is in session, and you can interact with us on Facebook via the Joy 99.7 FM or Joy Business pages. If you tweet, the handle is at Joy 997 FM or at Joy Business GH. Don't forget to hashtag JB Masterclass. You can also call us on 0302 216541 or send your questions and contributions through to the WhatsApp number 0551 111997, and our facilitators will address your concerns. Attention everyone, class is in progress.
Welcome back. If you've just tuned in, this is Masterclass. Phone lines are now open. We're interactive. Numbers to call 0302 216 541. That's 0302 216 541. You can also send us your comments on 055-11-11997. Leading with emotional intelligence, what is your specific experience? Have you experienced this as a worker, as a leader, as a team lead, in whichever capacity? We want to hear your thoughts. Pick up that phone and give us a call on 0302 216 541 or send us your comments on 055-11-11997. If you're driving, please make sure you park before you text us, because we definitely want you to arrive alive. Just also to remind you that Masterclass today is brought to us by Goyle. Goyle Good Energy, Goyle Yenara Igedia. Goyle has some great news for you if you have a motor vehicle of any kind. Goyle is rewarding its prepaying Go customers with 2% discount per litre on all fuels purchased. You also enjoy discounts on all lubricants at Goyle stations nationwide. So join the Go Club today by visiting any of the Goyle stations or offices. Or you can go to our website, registration.goyle.com.gh. Goyle, Good Energy, Goyle Yenara Yedia. Masterclass also brought to us by Lancaster University, the only British university campus in all of West Africa. Let's have your messages now. I have one on WhatsApp. This one is from Notedua. He says, emotional intelligence must go with emotional management. Kudos. I think he was rehashing a point that you made earlier.
Yeah. And yes, and I know Note is the clinical psychologist, right?
Indeed.
Those are the people who should go to companies and then be checking the emotional level of people.
Note, please, I hope you are listening. Martin is recommending some additional work for you. This one is from Edmond Awaite. Edmond says, good afternoon, Masterclass. Great education on emotional intelligence and leadership. Are all the 5 components discussed on emotional intelligence I can't read this properly. It says, all the 5 components discussed on emotional intelligence, are they expected to be demonstrated in every leader? Are they expected? So we'll hold that question. And then I have a caller on the line. Good afternoon. You're welcome to Masterclass. Your name and where you're calling from.
Yes, my name is Kweku. Around Gulf House.
Right. Kweku, talk to us.
Yes, so the last bit as to people getting an email, probably from their superior or whoever, then with anger they want to respond.
Yes, sir.
I have a colleague who did similar thing, like I think 3-4 years ago. Received an email from the UK,
right,
and then out of anger responded with anger, and that led to the termination of his contract with that same company.
Wow.
So I think what he said is right. I mean, we need to be careful as to when we are angry, we shouldn't respond to mails or respond to whoever is talking to us. Probably breathe in for some few seconds before we respond, or leave the scene and come back and answer those questions. By then, the anger might have been reduced a bit or something.
Indeed.
So,
Kweku, thank you
it's a good
so
education.
much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Please keep listening. I have another caller on the line. Good afternoon. You're welcome to Masterclass. Your name and where you're calling from.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Emmanuel.
Emmanuel, how are you, my brother?
Very well, Naughty. Great
good.
Conversation. I think this is the single most important topic in corporate organizations these days. But I have a very important question for your guest. For persons like myself who are very emotional by nature, oftentimes in my personal experience, I find it difficult holding down a job because I have very, very key technical competencies, but I think I'm very low on the EQ side. And so I'm unable to hold on a job for long because if I enter an environment where there's a lot of competition and, office politics and all that, I don't want to quit. So can emotional intelligence be acquired? Can it be learned? And for very emotional people by nature, what can we do about it?
Okay.
Thank you.
Brilliant question. Hold on. We'll have another caller. Okay. Please make a note of the question. Okay, so this one's question says that he's an emotional person. What can he do? Can he learn to become emotionally intelligent? I've got another caller on the line. Good afternoon. You're welcome to Masterclass. Your name and where you're calling from.
I'm William.
Good afternoon, William. How are you, my brother?
I'm good. How are
Great.
you
Talk
too?
to me.
This issue of EI, how I wish our political establishment managers could imbibe,
Yes.
live practical life, the theories and tenets, and the very essence of EI in our political space. This country would have been a very wonderful place. Because you see, once you are put in a power or a position of power or position of authority, you're supposed to be a leader.
Yeah.
And these are leadership principles that must be applied even right at home. If we can do that, find some level of sanity in our establishment, be it corporate, political, or individual.
Yeah.
Thank you for it.
You're very welcome, William. And we'll continue to talk about it. The only thing we can do is to continue to make the noise so that hopefully someone will hear us and then they'll become better for it. I've got another caller on the line. Good afternoon. You're welcome to Masterclass. Your name and where you're calling from.
I'm Joseph, calling from Takrade.
Good afternoon, Joseph. Takrade, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm fine.
Brilliant. Talk to us.
The program is very good.
Thank you, Joseph.
And I've learned a lot from it. And what I would say is that whenever you are angry, you should calm down a little bit before you respond, as the first caller said. Because it's very, very important. When you're angry, you don't have to respond to program, any email or anything. That's what I want to say.
Thank you so much. I've got another caller on the line. Wow, okay. I'm excited today. My callers are joining me. Good afternoon. You're welcome to Masterclass. Your name and where you're calling from, sir.
My name is Chidiak.
Chidiak, my brother.
Sure.
How are you? Happy New Year to you.
Yes.
Talk to me, Chidiak.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
In the case that you are quick-tempered, and then you have to continue repeating one thing for more times, how do you solve such a problem?
I can already see the problem. I hear the problem in your voice. Chidiak, please keep listening. We'll try and answer that quickly.
Thank you.
All right. So let's start with Chidiak and then we'll go back to the second caller.
Okay, great. I mean, with Chidiak, he's already self-aware. He has identified that you can be you're quick-tempered. So how do you deal with quick temper? Some have suggested that, look, if you know you're quick-tempered, if you get into a situation, in order for you to calm down, just take a deep breath or count 1 to 10 before you react. That gives you just help yourself to take a moment.
But also understand that people come from different places.
Absolutely.
And then people are from different orientations. So not everyone is as smart as you are.
Great.
We'll leave that one there because we can talk about it till tomorrow. The second caller was asking that as a very emotional person, how does she or he hold her own in an environment of competition?
Exactly, because he's asking,
disquiet, if you like.
Can it be learned?
Can it be learned?
So definitely it can. And I'm saying so because first, if you're self-aware, it's one step. But the second step is that where can you get help? If you're in the organization, you can actually have coaches and mentors who can guide and help you because you open up and say, this is my situation. Or you can have even an external coach, an external mentor. I mean, at the extreme situation, you can have a counselor or a psychologist that helps you in this situation. But it's the coach or the mentor should be able to speak to it. Somebody who has experienced things before, tell you that this is what you do at every step, and then you continue to practice that. I think.
And Kweku, just by way of recommendation, here on Masterclass, a friend of the show, James Addison, is also, I think, the founder and CEO of the first Emotional Intelligence Center here in Ghana.
Okay.
They have a center which helps people and trains and teaches people. He's a friend of the show. If you reach out to us here at Multimedia, we should be able to make a recommendation for you. I've got, is this Notedua? He says, regards, Mr. Barnafo, and regards to Mr. Atafin. Great topic. I'm glad you quote Savoy and Mayer and Martin started with characteristics and skills of followers. It is important to emphasize situational leadership as against trait models. Leaders are born. Emotional intelligence and other skills can be learned and enhanced, as against I was born or made this way, not Edua. Emotional awareness must go with not. I think that we will make a plan to bring you here on this show because you have so much information. Okay. Oh, I have Noti on the line. Is that Noti on the line? Please put him on.
Hi, Kojo.
Good afternoon, Noti. Talk to me. This is Yaw.
Right. Hi to you, Martin.
Thank you.
Hi,
Thank you. Good to hear from you.
Right. Great discussion.
Right.
I just wanted to emphasize, most people are calling in and asking questions about how they should manage some of these things and how or whether it can be acquired. I think Martin hit on it because he talked about the follower characteristics, whether they have the capacity, the skills, the competencies, and whether they are willing to work or not. And then he puts this against the emotional intelligence because this will tell you how to lead different people based on these characteristics, and it also moves us into the area of situational leadership. Learning to vary your leadership according to the characteristics of the people you are leading. And EI brings us into that realm. So I just wanted to emphasize the fact that there's been a big shift from leaders are born. So you have these traits and you came to the job situation or the leadership situation with them. To leaders can be made and you can acquire or enhance skills you came to the situation with.
Right.
And it's very, very important for managers to understand this and leaders to understand this.
Right. Note, let me just ask you very quickly.
Yes.
The second caller wanted to know what to do as an emotional person, how they could cure that, if you like, and be able to work in a competitive environment or environment of disquiet. Martin has shared his thoughts, but you being a clinical psychologist, let's hear your thoughts on that also.
I mean, the first step, thanks, Kojo. The first step is the awareness. So the person does know they are emotional. But many people use this as a designer excuse. As for me, I'm one plug. And then when they've messed up things, messed up the efficiency or the productivity of the group, then they realize that is not what you need in a situation. By all means, be firm, but you must be able to manage it. And there are many programs and many interventions that help people gradually manage these things to better outcome or better effect. So these are the things that need to be done. And we work a lot with HR professionals and other management figures and structures to get
Okay. All right.
leaders to
Thank you.
understand it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Notti. I'm sure that next week we'll try and make a plan to call you back so that you can share some other thoughts with us and our listeners can better. But this has been wonderful. What's our takeout for today?
No, our takeout for today is that, look, people should work at being aware of what level of emotional intelligence they are, and no, self-awareness will bring your self-management. But not only that, try to motivate yourself, and then you're not working in an island. You are working with people, you are leading people. So not only to be self-aware, but you be aware of the levels of emotion of those you're working with, social awareness, and also you have the skills to be able to manage that, and that is what we refer to as relationship management.
I mean, I dare say that there's a lot more information. Do we continue this conversation next week?
A bit
more, and then we move on to the next.
Exactly, because next we want to talk about your leadership brand. So we can
brand.
Speak to this and then go into
and
the
then
leadership
move on to.
brand. Yes.
This has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much. This has been Masterclass here on your Superstation Joy 99.7. Next week we come your way again. Martin Atafin will join us. We continue in that same conversation. Thank you for being a wonderful listenership and audience today. My name, as always, is Yaw Barnafo. We continue with the Ignition up next. See you same time,